Now in this section, we'll be considering the basic differences between pixels and vectors. Now understanding this helps you know how to differentiate between different file types, how to use them, and also how not to use them. So there is the vector file type and then there's the pixel file type. So primarily Illustrator works with vectors, whilst a program that works with pixels primarily is the Photoshop program. So I'll be switching between both programs to illustrate the differences between pixels and vectors. Now pixels work with this little boxes that's well are called pixels anyway, and the idea is an entire image is made up of a combination of millions, probably thousands of different boxes in different in different positions. So the idea is a pixel is like the very basic unit of a photograph, such that by the time you zoom into it, it becomes you're getting closer to that very small unit. Now vectors, however, do not use the pixel format in their in their composition, but instead they use and let me just call it a mathematical function. That's like the basic difference. And one thing you'll notice about vectors is that no matter how much you zoom into a vector, it never loses its quality, it doesn't lose its resolution in that sense. So I have this document open here in my Adobe Illustrator. So I'm going to just try to zoom in so that you can see down here is my zoom level, which currently is 31.53. So let's go to, you can see in Illustrator I have an enormous amount of zoom level that I can work with, which is up to 64,000. So let me move to 100% view, 100% zoom here. So you can see it's closer, but you can see that there's no loss of quality. Let me move to 600. You can see me still zooming in on the tongue of this smiley of this icon. No matter how farther in I go, I wouldn't lose any quality. So let me just do let me use my trackpad. I'm expanding now to zoom in on it. So you can see no matter how much I go in, this line stays as crisp and as sharp as possible. So this is one of the beauty of working with vector. When you're working with the vector, you don't have any problem with this. So let me switch now to my Photoshop. So what I've done is that same file, I've exported it into the pixel format. So I've brought in the pixel format in here, and then you'll see what happens. So here you can see the same zoom level. So this zoom level here is for the Illustrator. So let me just expand this a little so that I can cover it up. So you can see the zoom level here for my Photoshop is 33%, and by the time I go to, when I press Control 1 or Command 1, it goes to my 100%, which is the actual pixel size. So you can see this is 100%. It looks very good right now. I mean, it looks crisp. You can tell. You can tell that this is a very high quality export I did. However, let me now start zooming in more. I'm on 196 right now, and then you see now that I'm at 660%, you're already seeing the grid lines of the pixel format here. So this is where pixels and vectors get separated. You can see by the time I am already reaching this level, even 400%, I already have pixelations happening. And that's because at this point, these pixels in here, they are separate boxes on their own, and they have to take a particular color. Each box must have its own color, and that's why there just seems to be that form of pixelation. So you can see here a difference between vectors and pixels. So let me switch back to my Illustrator. You can see the same file that I exported. No matter how much I go in, I'm still maintaining that level of quality. So vectors are amazing for preserving quality. They're amazing for zoom for when you want to work with a file that you're going to have to expand a lot. The only disadvantage to vectors really is that they lack the ability to actually look photorealistic. So when you see a vector image, you're not likely to think that it's an actual photograph. So actual photographs, actual pictures, actual real life images are almost always in the pixel format, whilst drawings, whilst illustrations, shapes, logos are in the vector format. So you'll be using the vector format a lot in Illustrator. There is also, of course, the pixel format available in Illustrator, but primarily in Illustrator you will be working with vectors. And then one more thing in our view mode is Illustrator has this pixel preview, which tries to mimic what it will look like if your Illustrator file, which is a vector file, were to be previewed after exporting in a pixel format. So by the time I select this pixel preview, I would expect that when I try zooming in, I'll be experiencing the same thing I experienced when I was in Photoshop. So let me go ahead right now and zoom. So you can see I am in Illustrator right now. I'm at 400%. I'm already experiencing some form of pixelation. So this is just to give you an idea of how much detail that you currently have, how clearly your file is going to be when you move it out of a vector-based program. And of course, because the makers of Illustrator understand that a lot of times the files that you produce in Illustrator do not necessarily stay in Illustrator. You want to have an idea of what it's going to look like when it moves to another program. So you can see, let me try that again. So I'm zooming in with my pixel preview and then it's pixelating. However, the moment I turn off, I go to view again and turn off my pixel preview, it becomes crisp, clear, and very sharp. So that's the difference between a vector and a pixel format.